Put your hand down. You smiling? Yes, sir. Why are you smiling? Football. Football's fun. Fun, sir. It's fun. You sure? Now you're thinking. First you smile, then you think. You think football is still fun? Yes, sir. Yes. No. No? Sir. It was fun. Not anymore, though, is it? Is it? No, it's not fun anymore. Not even a little bit. No. Make up your mind. No. Think. Since you're thinking now. Come on. Think. Is it fun? No, sir. No. Absolutely not? Zero fun. All right. Listen up. I'm Coach Boone. I'm going to tell you all about how much fun you're going to have this season.
Welcome to the Washington Red Rona's Men of Honor podcast. My name is Dan Kinlan. I'm fortunately and luckily joined by my first opponent of the year, Blais. What's going on, man?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Dan. Really enjoy talking with you this evening about the start of the season. I feel blessed that I get to be the first one as well.
Well, let's give a little shout out to Coach Boone. Football is certainly fun.
He had it the first time. He had it right.
He did, right?
He did.
So, guys, what's up? We're going to start off by laying out a little bit of the schedule for the pod. Mario gave me a nice shout out in terms of, trying to be able to have a number of you guys on here. Season starts in about 24 hours. Well, yeah, pretty much. It's about 7:45 on September 9th. This is a Wednesday. Usually we're shooting for Thursdays, but as always, we got to call audibles, just like any good quarterback would. Texans and Chiefs tomorrow night, Blais. What do you think?
First off, I can't believe it's finally here. It's really weird just going up, preseason, completely wiped out. So, I expect it to be a high-scoring game tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we're looking at a pretty high betting line. I think it's 54.5.
Yeah.
Which is absurd for a first game. You were saying that when you just called me.
I mean, that could just be for the Chiefs alone just scoring right now, 54.5. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be closer than people probably think. But I see in the first couple of weeks here a lot of penalties. It's not just the first game for the players; it's first games for the refs. So I think they're just going to try to get back into the swing of things too. So yeah. I see these games going a little bit longer than they're scheduled on TV.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point because as we've seen on some of the NBA games, the people that are the most cold seem to be the refs. So that's a pretty good point I never even thought about.
Yeah. And then another thing I'm kind of curious about is, with not having a preseason and really smaller mini camps, not really having any mini camps, I see a lot of soft tissue injuries probably happening right in the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
that's just my guess.
Well, you're probably right because they really haven't been tested the way that they used to be tested. I mean, even having a game and a half of preseason is something that what are they doing now? Barely touching each other in terms of some non-pad practices?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We obviously, as much as we want to be, John Madden here, this is a fantasy podcast. The draft was fantastic. We'll jump into that into a second, but some of the new or continuing rules very quickly, guys. This is on the board. This is on the league page. You can check it out. IRA spots going to 2 people. The keepers are up there. Consolation winner gets $100. The lottery system seems to be the biggest change. Blais, I'll ask you on your opinion on that one because I know the last place finisher is going to be getting the most lottery balls and so on, through worst record. The 2-2 in terms of draft picks, blah, blah, blah. Fractional kicking seems to be the biggest one. It's going to be happening this year. I'll take your opinion on that. Fab starts next year. COVID is what COVID is. If it happens, we'll look back on this. But first off, Blais, in terms of the lottery system for last place finisher getting the most lottery balls, what do you think?
So I was surprised at this pass. I was one of the ones against it. I think if you're really going to do this, we really hope someone doesn't just forfeit the season, start trading picks and trying to get that, picks for next year. understand it from the standpoint if you're trying to mimic, the NFL, NHL, MLB. I know NBA does their lottery, but actually, I don't know if NHL does.
But it's tough, right? It's a tough change because this has pretty much been the one, the one rule. And obviously, guys, correct me on this. But what do you think, Blais? And I know it's been the one I think that has changed the most, or at least seesawed back and forth, because some people really love it, some people really don't. I mean, for the most part, I think the best team has always won. I hope I can say that with confidence, but I think it's definitely the rule that changes the most.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, the best team that wins, I think they should be rewarded for doing such a great job. Now, what we're saying is just go ahead and if you want to toss your season for last place and you can get the best amount or best chance to get it, it doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense to me. I think you should reward the guys for doing the best possible job.
Yeah, I think one of the things we tried to do was to move up the trading deadline a week to try to kind of kick that habit. Has it worked? No. Is there a perfect system? Never. But we obviously, we're not communists here. We did go to the voting system, but what do you think about the kicking, man?
I know Marvin's really excited about it. So I actually voted for it. I think it's smart in a sense. I feel like if you really look at it, your guy has a 41-yard field goal. You'd be like, that's it? Like, I get 4 points for that? Like, might as well just move him back 9 more yards to get a 50-yarder. So I think this kind of helps in a sense in terms of that. I think it can definitely make or break a lot of these games. But I also see from the standpoint of, why change this? Why are we going to fractional kicking? It is what it is, 5 points to 50 and 4 and, et cetera. But now it just comes into play, too. You got to think about it in terms of, where you're getting your kicker from. If your kicker's, offense isn't scoring touchdowns and they're kicking field goals most of the time from 30, 40 yards, you might be at an advantage. But if they do a pretty good job pushing, they get stopped and they're kicking 17-yard field goals and you get 1.7, again, that could be the make or break it. So
yeah, I think that there was a good point brought up at the draft, and I'm remiss to not actually remember who said this, but basically said, listen, if we're going to start, either making kickers really good or making kickers really shitty, why don't we just get rid of the kicker? And I'm not thrilled by that, but I'm never not open to an idea. But I wouldn't understand why, if this rule is instituted, why some people might want to get rid of the kicker. But hey, conversation for another time. Something to talk about. Just as a heads up, for whatever reason, I think maybe all of us were too excited about the draft. We didn't officially talk about what the actual payouts were. So, while none of us have a loss on our record yet, let's start to think about what that should be. Marvin, I know, shot out a text and didn't get too many replies, but it's not that big of a thing. It's probably going to be very similar to what we had last time, but not sure if you have an opinion on that one, Blais.
No, not right now. I mean, that's like, honestly, I just have to say, see what happens with COVID right now. I mean, that's just the hardest thing. True. I guess maybe if we get closer towards the middle of the season, then we can maybe decide and see where it's going from there. But
so it's good to have a baseline, though.
Yeah, it is. So I don't have the best option right now. I mean, I would say similar to last year, but again, I say I probably have a better answer for you 8 weeks or 7 weeks down the road if NFL still continuing to play and we really knew.
I know. The one thing I hate to say about that is that at 8 weeks in, if somebody's 2-6, they're going to be like, well, maybe we should not do this. But everybody's pretty understandable. We've been playing this league for a couple of years. Everybody kind of understands each other. So as we
honor, guys, come on,
there we go, Blais. There we go. The draft, my man. 3 categories: best team, worst team, surprise pick. Who do you think is the best team? Or if you don't want to give a best team, just give the best pick.
I was actually looking at best team. I actually have to say, I think Jed might actually be the front runner for this one right now. I know he was loaded in the first.
Yeah, can't imagine why, right?
4 rounds, yeah. So I think he's got a pretty solid team up and down the board. I think worst team. Honestly, I hate to say it, but
don't be shy. Don't be shy. Do
honestly,
it. Do it.
I
do
look
it.
at it. I'm not going to say it, but
you can do it.
It's probably either a toss-up between yours or T-Max right now. But
I know.
I just looking at yours, the bench just doesn't seem too strong right now.
Trust me, we're gonna get there between mine and yours matchup, and I'll explain some of my reasonings. A lot of them can't be defended, but I don't hate you for saying that. As always, I think the best pick is always going to come from a keeper for Kenny Drake.
Yeah.
But any kind of non-keeper best pick, usually comes late. There were a bunch of great picks here. There were a bunch of not so great picks. I still think that one of the better teams still involves your team because I love your running backs. And I love the way you grabbed 4 of them right in a row.
Yeah, I did. I will say I dropped the ball. I'm actually drafting. I picked up Sterling Shepard, and I think I just marked Tyler Lockett out, and he was still on the board. I just didn't think about it. I was like, crap.
He was.
So, and I know everyone's like, why did you pick him so soon? But now I might be in a good spot because Golden Tate might be out for a couple of weeks, so it might be more targets.
Yeah, there is a hamstring injury to Golden Tate, which again, I think Blais is just really trying to put shit on me because we're playing the first week, and I might have to substitute one of my higher picks. But one of the worst draft picks that I had seen. Drew, I'm not going to pile on you here for your keeper again with your Jamal Williams.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that either, but thank goodness you did.
No, actually, I don't want to pile on him for that. I'm going to pile on him in round 4 for Leonard Fournette.
So I was just kind of curious of why you did that as well. I don't know if it's just, you see the name and you're like, I just got to grab him.
Defend yourself, Drew.
Don't even give me that bull crap that it's because he's on Tampa. I might want to hear that right now.
Wait, do you mean Tampa?
Tampa?
T-O-M?
So. Yeah, Tampa.
Tampa Bay?
So, his keeper was a little questionable, but yeah, definitely grabbing Leonard in the 4th round was,
not the best.
Yeah. I would say surprise pick. I mean, it's not so much a surprise because he went a little bit later, but Nick Chubb going a little bit longer than he did, I think was a pretty good pick for that. I think it was.
Yeah, and just so people are aware, Nick Chubb went 5th in the 2nd round, so that would be pick number 19. The 2 picks before him were Chris Carson, James Conner. The 2 picks after him were Chris Godwin, Aaron Jones. And so I get you there. I think people were worried about the fact that Kareem Hunt might.
Hunt's back, yeah.
Yeah.
And understandable.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll probably take some touches away.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Again, surprise picked. I think Stephon Diggs went a little bit too early. I thought that he might slip a little longer. I'm worried about Le'Veon Bell, Mace, just to let you know. Even though I wanted him at the draft, I think you may have gotten him too early on the, look around. But, and again, just so you're aware, Le'Veon Bell went in the 3rd round. That's the 5th pick. So, it's 28 plus 5. That would be 33 overall. Pick after him is Cooper Kupp, Mark Andrews. 2 before him were Odell Beckham Jr. and Melvin Gordon. So, yeah, no, the 1st round picks are always a little bit surprising in our league. They always go a little bit here and there.
Man, like I said, I had a surprise pick picking Darius or Sterling Shepard so quickly. So, but
well,
it is what it is now.
It is. Well, I'll transition to what I will call the kind of the, I guess, this is your corner, Blais. We always talk about having a little bit of the commissioner's corner. Of talk about whatever you want, Marvin, for the first podcast, the preseason podcast. But This is your topic, Blais. Anything you want to talk about? This could be the fact that you hated the fact that none of us were all together for the draft. It could be the lack of trades last year. It could be, again, a rule you wished that was pushed through that didn't, or maybe the fact that you just really don't like the fact that your team is not going to win the Super Bowl. So the floor is yours, brother.
I mean, do you mean my team here on paper, or you mean like my favorite team? Because I know the Washington football team is not going to do jack.
Can't imagine why. Is that because Geronimo doesn't play for you?
That might be it. That might exactly be it. So, but I think Dan Snyder needs to be out as quickly as possible.
I know.
But I digress.
Great first name on that guy, but anything else, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I hear you, man. So, but like I said, I digress. I definitely did, I did want to be at the draft. I'm sure everyone else did too. And, we got families and everything, and just travel is just hard with this right now. But I do want to talk about one trade, well, not one trade, sorry. One vote that went through too. I did not like the keeper thing.
What do you mean? Which part of the keeper didn't you like?
So I do not like the one for free agency. If you pick up in free agency, you have to let them go after 1 year. I do not like that at all.
All right, so just so we're able to kind of talk about and recap what everyone is talking about. Do you mean that are you worried about when they are taken versus when they are not taken?
I would say it's more of when they are taken, and then you don't have that capability to keep them for 2 years in a row. So, like Marvin said, once we draft that guy, if you draft someone, you can keep him for 2 years, but if you pick him up in free agency, you got to only keep him for one. I understand it's leveling out the playing field, but it's also...
So what part about it don't you like? I'd like to kind of give you a little Q&A here. So is there part of... Is it the 3 rounds that bothers you? Is it the 2? Talk to me.
No, in terms of, I think they should at least be kept for 2 years. I don't like the rule that you can only keep them for 1 still. I think you're disrewarding, the GMs for, talking about us. We pick up a player and we do a good job picking up that player. Why are you going to, punish us?
So just so everyone's aware, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, Blais. The concern that you have is that free agent players can now only be kept for 1 year if they are picked up as free agents, versus the fact that if you drafted them, now they can be kept for 2 years. Is that fair to say?
That's what I got from that.
Okay.
Now, would I have liked to maybe see a different rule to change, if you kept a free agent for 2 years, maybe you double the rounds and lose 4 rounds instead of 3. Maybe that could have been a, compromise, but I feel like we were just very quick to, jump on the 1 player a year bandwagon. I know Drew was big on that, and even Big Cat was hopping on that train. I just feel like we kind of settled for both and try to make just everyone happy.
Yeah. So just so people are aware, if you want to, pause this podcast and maybe rewind it 2 to 3 minutes and then go to the league page, what Drew is referencing is rule number 2 of what Marvin said was 2020 draft day discussions and rule changes. And we've always been dancing around this rule the last couple of years, and it's pretty much either it's the gateway into a dynasty league or the gateway into just a keeper league. But it's always interesting to try to keep an open mind, because my mind has always kind of changed back and forth about a lot of this stuff. I mean, obviously, I benefited quite a bit of having Alvin Kamara, and we litigated the Kamara issue and some of the draft issue, and I'm not going to do that here on this podcast. But like I said, this is the Blais topic. All of you are going to be able to have a topic that you can talk about. But Blais brought it up, and I think that it's important to him. And what you said was it's not outlandish, it's not ridiculous. but if you would like to add anything to it, I want you to do so.
No, I'm good. I think we can get on the matchups now. I'm sure they want to hear me, talk about something other than this now. So.
well, Blais isn't wrong. We're at least about 20 minutes in here. We try to keep this between 40 to 50 minutes, but we'll see what we can do. But matchups of the week, we'll maybe do some kind of special matchups as we move through the year, but it's tough to do so, and really all we're basing everything on is just draft position. But first matchup of the week, we got to go with the commish, Blais, do we not?
I mean, I'm going with them.
All right, Big Waller Brand taking on Jake from State Farm. This is Marvin versus Steve, and I'll take a peek here at Marvin's team. Aaron Rodgers, he got late, which, he's getting older. Currently projected at 15.75 for Aaron Rodgers himself. This matchup is extremely close. It's actually less than 1 point according to the projections from Yahoo. And I think that Marvin's team, strong wide receivers with Cortland Sutton and DJ Moore. I'm not sure how well Crowder's going to do from the Jets against that secondary for the Bills. But Darren Waller is certainly his wild card. If Darren Waller can get 1 or 2 touchdowns, he'll be great. But the Carolina defense is very, very good. I still think Marvin's team is projected a little bit too high. If it were me, I would be going with Jake from State Farm. I think Kittle's going to absolutely torch the Arizona Cardinals. Tariq Cohen should be the one starting. I'm not sure if anyone saw it, but David Montgomery was limited today in practice. I don't think he plays this week. I think Tariq Cohen at a currently projected 8.4 points gets more into the 13 to 16 range. Currently no kicker as well. So, again, a lot of this stuff first week, and, I'll explain my strategy as to why I don't have any of those later, but I'm going to take Steve and Jake, I guess, from State Farm. How do you see this one, Blais?
Yeah, I just realized that they didn't have kicker as well. But I still actually think I'm going to go with Commish on this one. I actually think he's going to make a lot more in his points with his receivers than we probably think. Especially, again, with this being first week. And I have a feeling people are going to, there are going to be a lot of penalties, pass interference, more opportunities to score. I think he's, again, like you said, got a good, well-rounded receiving core. I think Joe Mixon's going to get his touches this week. I think Aaron Jones is going to. I think that's probably a little bit higher for him. But we'll see what happens with A.J. Dillon and that. I know they don't really have a great receiving core in Green Bay, so they still might try to get him in the passing game. I will say, when you said George Kittle, I actually think George Kittle's going to do as well as I think this week, because what I noticed about Arizona when they picked up Isaiah Simmons, I mean, he plays all over the place. I think they're going to put him on there. He's going to put him on him, and I think he'll be able to shut him down a little bit. So We'll see what happens with that. Prove me wrong, George Kittle. But I do not think he's going to get the projected 11.32 that he's going to, that it says here. So I'm going with the commission on this one. I think he's going to make out a little bit more with his receiving core this week. Definitely with Corey Sutton and DJ Moore. So I'm going with the commission.
All right. You know how much that avatar makes me want to, claw my fucking eyes out there. Too much. So
much.
Next matchup is Won't Let You Down, Miss Jackson versus Drop Jed Gorgeous. You want Blais? Blais, why don't you start this one off?
So, looking at this, like I said, I think Jed has one of the more of the powerhouse teams in this league. I think up and down the board, his receiving core is good. I'm very curious about Amari Cooper, though. Now with having, Gallup with a breakthrough last year, and now CeeDee Lamb, I feel like he's definitely going to take some. He's going to take some touches away from Amari Cooper. But if you have Dak Prescott, heck, kudos to you for picking him up. But just again, all across the board, I think his receiving core is good. Mark Ingram's, I think he's definitely in his touches compared to J.K. Dobbins, at least out of the gate the first couple of weeks. But, it wouldn't shock me if Mason pulls this one out. Last, point or so, I think this is going to be pretty closer than it says. I think Mason's got a pretty good lineup, from top to bottom. But, I'm going to give this one a Jed. I think he'll probably inch it out by just a couple of points. Really looking at this, I think he's just got some favorable matchups for this week.
Gotcha.
So,
well, given the fact that this motherfucker had 6 picks in the first 4 rounds, he should be favored in the first round. It's currently Jed at 117, Mason at 111. And as will happen as we do these podcasts, like I said, we were aiming to do them every Thursday. Sometimes schedules don't allow. We're getting a lot of group texts right now, and Barry would be remiss if I did not say that, join the Survival Football League if you want. I understand that LJ's afraid and that he's probably going to lose week 1, which is why he's out. So, that's on him. But back to Jed versus Mason here. Jed's projections are wild. And I think that he does have a lot of running backs that could either be, they could be 1s or they could be 3s. And that's why I'm not entirely sure about a lot of the projections. Kyler Murray, I think, to me, is a top 3 running back. Le'Veon Bell doesn't concern me for Mason week 1. Alvin Kamara concerns me the entire year. Henry Ruggs out of Las Vegas Raiders. He's going to be the number 2 or number 1 wide receiver for the first 3 weeks while that wide receiver core gets healthy. Lamar Jackson will do his thing. Evan Engram is the number 1 wide receiver, even though listed as a tight end. I'm taking Mason in this one, Blais.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
All right.
So, it could come down to it, but Mace, I got your back there. Next one is S Singletary TDs, so STDs or Singletary's TDs against, again, it's on the website as Black Dogs, but Marvin put them in as Gronk for TDs. This is a 114 currently to 103. Barry in favor. Quite frankly, I think this thing comes down to, does Tyreek Hill score? And he is the modern-day Deshaun Jackson. He's fantastic. If he doesn't get touchdowns, he's awful. This is a hit-or-miss squad for Barry. I think if it's all touchdowns or it's no touchdowns, he will not win on yards. He will win on touchdowns. And I think this week he will, because as I'm looking at it, the Black Dogs are Gronk for TDs. A lot of potential backups. Drew, I don't love your team because of that stuff. It will depend on how many carries Leonard Fournette gets. What do you think, Blais?
I have to agree with you. I think Barry's definitely a touchdown loaded team. I will say this, I think first play of the game, if Kansas City gets the ball, they're just throwing a deep Hail Mary to Tyreek Hill and see what happens to open up the season. That's just my prediction on that real quick. But, yeah, seeing this, like you said, matchups-wise, I think it's pretty favorable for Barry this week.
Wait, Blais. Look at Drew's team. Besides Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, are those the only number 1 player? Well, I guess he has Travis Kelce, but are those the only number 1 players on his team? Like, depth chart-wise.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you are. Yeah.
Drew, I'm not trying to put shade on you, man, but, I'm going to go with my brother on this one.
Yeah, how can you not? Especially, listen, okay, maybe Leonard Fournette eventually will put himself there, but it's still too early to predict right now.
Too early, right?
And heck, you don't even know about AJ Green still, how healthy he's ever going to be. We'll see if he can even last 10 games this season. But yeah, no, you make a good point. Outside of that, you really don't have anyone that's like a starter. Anything. Travis Kelce, there we go. But that's not going to be, he's not going to be your saving grace throughout the season. So
Moving on very quickly to Here's My Number, So Call Me Brady versus Maurice in a Fleece. This is Justin versus William Frederick. It's also a very, very close matchup. It's within 0.6 points, according to, again, Yahoo. First week, we don't usually put a big emphasis on this, but Blais, why don't you start us off? Grab a team, give me some analysis.
First off, I don't like to give Justin any credit ever, so I just don't really want to even go there. But I mean, looking at this, again, like I said, whoever had Dak Prescott, and I know he got picked up a little bit later, kudos to you. I think that is, I hate to say this, but I think that's going to be a pretty explosive offense this year. And I think Dallas is probably going to win the East. I cannot believe I'm saying that right now. Tom and LJ are probably loving me for this, but I think they're going to win the East. He's up and down the board. I definitely think, both of them have good lineups. And big thing I'm not worried about, but we'll see what happens with Justin is Todd Gurley. Let's see if he gets the touches, if Dan Quinn is actually going to hold back a little bit with him.
This matchup is the one matchup that makes zero sense to me in terms of the Yahoo projections.
Yep.
If I had to pick a blowout of the week, I would pick it. I think Justin's going to fucking destroy him. It's not even close. I'm sorry. It's just, look at it.
I mean, again,
if Todd Gurley scores any touchdown this week, it's over. Malcolm Brown is supposed to be the starter, which means he'll at least get the first quarter. He'll get the first quarter stuff. I think that Josh Allen should at least rush one in and throw one against the Jets. And if Odell gets a long bomb, that's great. On the flip side, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the highest placed person for Maurice in a Fleece, except for Dak Prescott, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first week doesn't do well, this is going to get ugly, and it's going to get ugly quick.
Yeah. I kind of go back to Drew. I mean, you really see this squad. He's got some starters, but it's also like, are they really reliable? I mean, you got some guys who just up and down the board are like, you don't even know if they're going to get touches. You don't know how they're going to do. I mean, I think this is a good projection for him this week, but I could see this going south pretty quickly for the season.
Well, moving on to what, again, according to the draft board, is Little Dak Energy versus my Homelander for Prez. This is LJ versus Tom. Currently, Tom is at 117, LJ at 104. And, I guess what I would say about LJ's team is that I have not seen a double tight end of TJ Hockenson and Noah Fant. Did not expect that. I think Hopkins, again, will be fine. Jared Goff is better than his recent stats have shown. Neither of these two teams really have much on the bench except for maybe Latavius Murray for Tom. Maybe he puts that in for Brown there in Buffalo. But I think Kenyon Drake and Austin Eckler really might rule the day here. But Tom's team scares me. I think Tom's team is one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league. It might be because I believe in Tyler Higbee at tight end. Marlon Mack is not as bad as everyone thinks, but that wide receiver core is great, and Saquon Barkley could be the number 1 player in fantasy.
Agreed. I mean, I even look at Tom's bench, too. He's got some, solid guys that he could place in there if he needs to. It comes down with an injury, so, if it does happen, Tom, I'm not wishing that on you ever, but if that does, I feel like he can plug and play and still be okay.
I know, and as much as I love Tom's team, though, I'm not taking him this week. I actually think he does lose this week based on the fact that a lot of the guys that he has plays for winning teams, and I think that a lot of those matchups are going to be blowouts, so he's going to get a lot of first quarter, second quarter points, but he's going to end up – Saquon's going to sit a lot this year. At least that's what I've been hearing about in New York Giants camp. Yep, and I think that if he doesn't get his points in the first and second quarter, he's not going to get them in the second half. So I think Tom jumps out to a big lead. He'll be fine down the line, but I'm going to give this one to LJ.
To switch it that way, I'm going to give this one to Tom. I think, just looking at it, he's got enough potential here to, definitely go weeks on end with, giving people some tough matchups. Again, I think to start of the season, I think games are going to be closer than we really think, especially with, just plugging everybody right out there and just saying, like, here you go. I think Tom's going to make out some big points this week. So right. I wouldn't be surprised. For me, I wouldn't be shocked if he made out a little bit larger than what he's predicted.
All right. Well, next matchup is between Mr. Dan McHale and T-Mac. Currently, right now, 104-97, close to a 6-point spread in favor of Mr. McHale. He's got the Rapist Burger. He's got Deontay Johnson, who I actually really like, wide receiver for Pittsburgh. Miles Sanders may not play. And I understand that he is at 13 points, which is pretty big for him. What I saw today, again, that he was limited in practice. And I think that without Miles Sanders, this team struggles. That's because I also hate Anthony Miller. But on the flip side, there's a reason he's down 4 or 5 points is because T-Mac hasn't put a kicker in. And why he's got, Gronkowski and Dalvin Cook. Like these two teams might be the most two different teams at the beginning of the season versus at the end of the season. It's a very hard matchup for me to go with. I think whichever quarterback, Deshaun Watson versus Ben Roethlisberger, scores the most points, wins the matchup.
I'm going with Tim on this one. Even though he's got to put in a kicker, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, I think there's going to be a lot of soft tissue injuries this year, and you can already see most of these guys that are questionable are having hamstring or groin issues already. That's not really what you want to do going into the season. Already trying to be competitive. So Dan, it might be a little tough for you with Miles Sanders. Hopefully he picked up Boston. Nope, he didn't pick up Boston Scott as a handcuff. But I think the big one that I see for Tim, that's going to be a big jump for him, a big surprise. I think Jared Judy's actually going to be a big surprise this year, and I think he's probably going to be up there for, at least I'm just going to say, probably top 5 for Rookie of the Year.
All right, let me throw something at you here, Blais. So T-Mac has in his flex James Robinson, right? Running back for Jacksonville, right? The Jaguars just signed Dare Ogunbowale, another running back. So they have Chris Robinson, they have Chris Thompson, they have Dare, and they have James Robinson, not to mention Onzagumbe. Does anyone know who the hell is going to run the ball for Jacksonville? Please tell me.
It kind of sounds like the Patriots with that dilemma they always have, four-headed monster in the backfield. It's just like,
That's actually a really good point.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't trust anyone from Jacksonville, even the front office at this point with them. They seem to be getting rid of every single first-round player they've had the past 6 years. How do you make that a stable franchise, and how can you rely on anyone? I don't know.
It's a good point. It's a good point. So we go to our last matchup of the week, and most of you at this point have probably turned the podcast off, which for my benefit will be fantastic. However, we have Vaccinated from Losing going against Real Mosterts. Right now, Blais has got me at 114-83, so let's just say I get, and currently I don't have a kicker and a defense, and if you want, I will explain my strategy. I can do that. I don't mind doing it.
I would love to hear this.
Okay, then you'll hear it. So let's first off, let's just say they both get me 8 points. That's 16 points. It brings me to what? I don't know, 99, 97, 98. So you're still beating the shit out of me by 15. All right. So the reason I don't take a kicker and a defense, and this strategy may only work once every 5, maybe 10 years, but when it works, I think it's really going to work. If you take a lot of backup running backs and these idiots get hurt in the last couple days of training camp, then you have their backups. Otherwise, you just drop them. Because I have at least 2 or 3 for the kicker and the defense that I can just pick up, and they'll be just as good as any of the guys you drafted in the 14th to 16th round. So that's me giving you a little bit of fantasy football advice.
Okay.
All right. Like, for example, Von Miller went down yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, imagine that was, I don't know, Le'Veon Bell, and I have the backup of Frank Gore. And now I have a 1,000-yard rusher. So you're lucky. Good for you. You can use my strategy moving forward. Even if I had...
I'll say I'm happy I'm playing your first week. We'll just say that right now.
You're sleeping on me with Dan Arnold. I know that I was explaining what I wanted to do with Dan Arnold to Justin. The 1.22 is disrespectful. He is the starter. Don't like the fact that I'm going to have to bench Golden Tate. I'm fucked this first week. There's no end way around it. You're going to screw me. I do like your team. I think, quite frankly, Blais, your team is top 3, no doubt. If you don't make the playoffs, it's because one of your guys got injured or San Francisco decided that they want 5 running backs. Is that a fair representative of our matchup?
I would have to say I'm probably going to beat you this week on that one.
Yeah.
But, I try to, my bench-wise, I try to make my bench as hefty as I could in terms of backups. But again, I was even thinking about Sony Michel. I'm like, I don't even know if I really want to pick him up because, again, you got a 4-headed monster with them in New England, so we'll see what happens. But, I hope that strategy does work out for you in the season. Just not week 1. So.
Well, like I said, it usually doesn't work out, but if it works out once or twice every 5 to 10 years, that's great. I will ask you this. Have you gotten any trade offers yet?
I have not gotten any trade offers yet.
I have gotten quite a few, which encourages me. I know last year we didn't have a lot of trade offers, so I'm hoping that people want to continue to try to trade a lot of people, or maybe not. Maybe you think your team is great, but Blais, 2 questions. First, give me your Super Bowl pick, and then give me your league pick for the fantasy season.
Okay, Super Bowl pick. Hate to say it, it's pretty easy. The one thing I probably want to definitely is going to say Kansas City, but it's really hard going back to back. So I'm going to take the field on this one, and I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to say that I do think finally that they break through. I think the San Francisco 49ers get back and repeat that game against Kansas City. But I think 49ers win it this year.
Okay. All right. So we got 49ers for the NFL. How about the fantasy season?
This is a hard one. I have to say, I definitely put my hat in the ring. Depending on, how everything, continues, I think if my players stay healthy, I have a good shot. But I would actually say, looking at it, I'm probably gonna give it to Tom right now.
Wow, Tom. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, hey guys, thanks for listening. We do appreciate it. Good luck first week. Good luck with your bets. Not good luck to Blais for his players, although we never root for injuries. Guys, as always, we want feedback. So I hope that you guys are doing well and have had a great Labor Day since we seen you. But, as always, this is the Men of Honor. Thank you for listening.
Talk to you guys later.